Hi friends, my name is Dilip. So this is the last version of the Sanjeevani Booty. So in this video I will be covering all the procedural aspects. As of now I have uploaded the video on from section 7 to section 21, that is from supply to input tax credit. After that I uploaded the video on place of supply, and this video I will be taking all the procedural aspects from registration topic till the returns topic. Okay, so the video which I am covering, all the portions which is covered in these videos which I have uploaded the Sanjeevani Booty, it covers 60 to 80% of your syllabus. Depending upon which course you are doing, it covers 60 to 80% of your syllabus. Say for example, if you are doing CA intermediate, then it will cover 40 marks is your syllabus. It will cover all the 40 marks portion. If you are doing CMA intermediate, then these videos which I am doing, this will cover your 80%, 82 or say 70% of your syllabus. 70% of your syllabus will be covered, meaning revision of 70% of your syllabus can be done only in 3 to 4 hours. 3 to 4 hours period you can do entire, I think 3 hours, the entire revision, depending upon the video which I make, this particular video. So in 3 hours entire revision is done. And for CS students, CA and CS final or CMA final student, it will cover about 50% of your syllabus. At final level it will cover about 50% of your syllabus. And for CS intermediate, because the portions are very less to you, this is the videos which I am making is too much for you. Anyways, it also covers your say 50 marks paper, you have around 25 to 30 marks portions is covered. I hope you are enjoying all these videos. Please do comment about whether the material is good or not, whether the videos which I am uploading is good or not, because it motivates me to make more and more videos. Now with this, let me start with the revision. Section 22 to section 30 talks about registration. Section 22 to section 30 sir talks about registration. What is section 22 telling? Section 22 talks about a person who is liable for registration. Who is the person who is liable for registration? If your aggregate turnover if you are a supplier who is making taxable supplies, and your aggregate turnover, if you are a supplier making taxable supplies and your aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakh rupees, then you are supposed to take registration in the state or in union territory from where you are making taxable supply. You should take registration in each and every state, each and every union territory from where you are making taxable supplies. Aggregate turnover should be seen on all over India basis. Sir, what is this aggregate turnover? Sir, aggregate turnover means aggregate value of all taxable supplies, exempt supplies, export of goods or services, interstate supply to a person having same PAN. This is required to be computed on all India basis or pan India basis, and it shall not include, meaning aggregate turnover shall not include taxes under GST and inward supply liable for reverse charge. Then for 4 special category states, how much? For 4 special category states, the limit is 10 lakh rupees. Sir, which are these 4 special category states, sir? Make my trip to Nagaland. Which are these 4 special category states, sir? Make my trip to Nagaland. M for Manipur, M for Mizoram, T for Tripura, and N for Nagaland. Then there is also a notification number 10/2019, which says if you are an exclusive supplier of, if you are supplying exclusively goods only, then you can opt to take registration. Then for you the registration, you can opt for an increased limit of registration which is 40 lakhs. There are few conditions also. Condition number 1, you should not be under compulsory registration. You should not be supplying notified goods, that is aerated water, pan masala, ice cream, tobacco products, and you should not opt for voluntary registration. You should be an exclusive supplier of goods. Then section 23 talks about person who are not liable for registration. If you are making exclusively, if you are making only exempt supply, if you are making only non-taxable supplies, if you are an agriculturist supplying the produce out of cultivation of land, you are not liable for registration. Section 24 talks about compulsory registration. Person who are required to take registration compulsorily. Say if you are a person who is making interstate taxable supply of goods, because if you are making interstate taxable supply of services, for you up to the limit of 20 lakh you have that benefit. If you are making interstate taxable supply of goods, there is no limit. Even 1 rupee sale you make, you are required to take registration. Then if you are a casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person, a person who is liable to pay tax under reverse charge, e-commerce operator, TDS, TCS person, input service distributor, agent, or OIDR service provider, that is OIDR service provider. Then section 25 talks about the procedure for registration. Now if you are a person who is liable for registration either under section 22 or section 24, then you should apply for registration within 30 days of liable. And for registration PAN is very, you should apply within 30 days of liable. For registration PAN is very important. And the registration form which is there is GST REG 01. This form will have two parts, part A and part B. Once the registration is granted to you, you will be given a GSTN, goods and services tax, info GSTN identification number, goods and service tax identification number. This GSTN will be of 15 digits. Okay, and the registration certificate which you get is form GST REG 06. Then a casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person should apply for registration 5 days before commencement of business. Section 26 talks about deemed registration. Section 26 says if you are a person who is getting registered under CGST Act, SGST Act or UTGST Act, it will be deemed that you have taken registration under CGST Act. Section 27 is talking about the special provision which is applicable to a casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person. Non-resident taxable person and casual taxable person has special provisions. So what are the special provisions? They should take registration 5 days before commencement of business. 5 days prior to the commencement of business, they should take registration. Then the registration shall be valid for 90 days or the number of days they are seeking it for, whichever is earlier. I apply for registration only for 20 days or 90 days, whichever is earlier, 20 days. Okay, normally the validity will be for 90 days. Then while taking the registration, I also have to pay the tax in advance. I will have to estimate my supplies which I am going to make during this period, and I will have to pay the taxes in advance. Then sir, can the registration be extended? Sir, yes, your registration can be extended to further period of 90 days. Then section 28. Section 28 talks about amendment in registration. Amendment in registration is required to be made within 15 days of that change. Whatever amendment has happened, within 15 days of that amendment, you will have to make an amendment in the registration. Please note, amendment can be in core fields and non-core fields. Non-core fields, approval of proper officer is not required. In case of core fields, proper officer will approve within 15 days. Then section 29, very important for this attempt, section 29 talks about cancellation of registration or suspension of registration. Sir, what is this cancellation or suspension of registration? Registration can be cancelled if the business is discontinued, if there is a change in constitution of business, if you are no longer to be liable for registration under section 22 or section 24, or if you don't file returns. In case you are a normal taxpayer, then for 6 consecutive months, if you are a composition dealer for 3 consecutive tax period, then if you have obtained registration by way of fraud, etc., and if you have obtained registration by way of fraud, misrepresentation, and if you have opted for voluntary registration and for 6 months you do not start business only. Please note, during the period when you have applied for registration till the order of cancellation, till the registration is cancelled, application till the order of cancellation, during that period your registration will be suspended. What is the essence of this suspension, sir? You will not have to file any returns. Then section 13 talks about revocation of cancellation. Officer has cancelled my registration. Can I revoke it back? Can I ask him to take it back? Yes, I can ask for revocation of cancellation. That is required to be asked within 30 days of order. Then tax invoice, debit note and credit note. Tax invoice time limit. You can refer to my discussion on time of supply. In that I have discussed about the time limit for issuing tax invoice. Now tax invoice is, in case of goods, it is required to be issued in 3 triplicates, and in case of services, it is required to be issued in duplicates. That is 2 copies and 3 copies. Sir, triplicate means what, sir? One for the supplier, one for the recipient, and one for the transporter who is going to transport the goods. Duplicate means supplier and recipient. Then the invoice number should be maximum of 16 digit. It should not have any special characteristics other than dash and hyphen. It can have a dash or also called as hyphen, or it can have a forward slash. Then sir, no invoice will be required. No invoice will be required to be given if the value of supply is less than 200 and the supply is made to an unregistered person, and that unregistered person does not require invoice. Bill of supply. If you are a person who is liable to pay tax under section 10, or if you are making an exempt supply, you should issue a document called as bill of supply. Revised tax invoice. Where a person is liable for registration and applies for registration within 30 days and has been granted a registration also, from the date when he was liable for registration till the date the registration is granted to him, whatever supply is made by him, for that he is actually liable to pay tax because he is a taxable person. So whatever supply is made by him during this period, he is required to issue a document called as revised tax invoice. this document is required to be issued within 30 days of receipt of registration certificate. Then receipt voucher. Whenever I receive any advances, I am required to give an voucher to him, that is acknowledgement of proof of receipt of advance, that is called as receipt voucher. Now, in case you receive any advances for supply of services, you are required to pay tax in advance. So if you don't know the rate of tax, then apply 18%. If you don't know the nature of supply, then treat it to be interstate supply. Refund voucher. If any advance which has been received by you is refunded by you, then you are required to issue a document called as refund voucher. Then payment voucher. When you make the payment to a person who is person whose supplies are liable to be taxed under reverse charge, meaning I have taken services from an advocate. Now it is me who will have the recipient who will have to pay the taxes under reverse charge. When I make the payment to the advocate, I should issue a document called as payment voucher. Credit note, debit note. Credit note is issued to decrease the value of invoice which is already issued by me. It can be because of, say, the tax rate or taxable value which is charged by me is more, or the quantity which is supplied by is more, or there is sales return, or there is deficiency in goods or services supplied by me. And debit note is required to be issued to increase the value of invoice which is already issued by me. It can be, say, tax rate is charged by me is less, or taxable value charged by me is less, and the quantity which is actually sent is more, but mentioned in the invoice is less. Okay, sir, what if I make taxable supplies and exempt supply? If you make taxable and exempt supply, issue a document called as invoice cum bill of supply. Invoice cum bill of supply. Now, this debit note and credit note is required to be shown in the return. It is required to be shown in return within a specific period. It is required to be shown, or it is required to be, say, it is required to be displayed in the return which you are filing within due date of filing return for the month of September of next financial year, or within or date of filing annual return, whichever is earlier for that financial year, annual return for that financial year. Then Rule 55 challan, also called as delivery challan. This is required to be given if you are causing a movement of goods. Whenever there is a movement of goods happening by reasons of supply or by reasons other than supply, you will have to give a document called as delivery challan. So this can be transportation of goods for reasons of supply, or goods are sent to job worker, or if you are transporting liquid gas where the quantity is not known at the time of supply. Then accounts and records. Account, sir, where are the accounts? Who should maintain the accounts? First, every registered person should maintain the accounts and records. Sir, where is it required to be mentioned? Where is it required to be maintained, sir? It is required to be maintained at principal place of business. Sir, what is required to be maintained? You should maintain true and correct. True and correct. You should what, sir? You should maintain true and correct details of production of goods, inward and outward supplies, then stock details, input tax rate, output tax details, input tax rate and output tax rate. About this, what will I mention, sir? See, about stock, you should maintain the details of what is raw material, work in progress and finishing goods, and what are the stock, opening stock, what is the purchases which is made by you, what is the sales which is made by you, what is the closing stock. Similarly, with regard to input tax credit, you will have to maintain the details of total ITC which is available, total ITC which is reversed, what is availed, etc. Similarly, sir, what if I have more than one place of business? Oh, sir, what if I have more than one place of business? If you have more than one place of business, then maintain the accounts and records with regard to that place of business at that location. Then, sir, can I maintain accounts and records in electronic form? Yes, you can maintain the accounts and records in electronic form. Sir, till what time should I keep these accounts and records with me? What is the period of retention of accounts and records? The period of retention of accounts and records is 72 months. You should maintain these accounts for a period of 72 months from the end of from the due date of furnishing annual return for the year for which that accounts and return pertains to. You will have to maintain it for 72 months from the due date of filing annual return for the period for which that accounts and returns pertain to. Say, for example, now the due date of filing annual return is 31st December of next financial year. 31st December of next financial year. So if I am talking about financial year 1920, so the due date to file annual return will be 31st December 2020. The due date of filing annual return will be 31st December 2020. Now, for the financial year 1920, till what time should I keep the accounts and records, sir? Now, the due date of filing annual return is what, sir? The due date of filing annual return is 31st December 2020. Now, with this 72 months with what? 6 years. Okay, so I should maintain the accounts and records till 31st December 2026. Now, please note, if you are a subject matter to any appeal, revision, etc., or any court matters are there, then you should maintain the accounts and records for a period of 1 more year from the date of the matter is closed by the court or appellate tribunal. Then Then please note, audit under GST, that is turnover based audit, section 35 subsection 5 says the audit under GST will be compulsory if your aggregate turnover exceeds 2 crore rupees in the financial year. If your aggregate turnover for a financial year crosses 2 crore rupees, you are required to get your books of account audited by a chartered accountant or a cost accountant. Then payment of taxes, there are 3 different ledgers: electronic cash ledger, credit ledger, and liability register. Then output tax, whichever output tax is there, it will go sit in your the liability will be sitting in your electronic liability register, and this output tax can be paid either through input tax credit or it can be paid through cash. It can be paid through cash. Now all the details of this utilization of credit, etc., I am not telling. Okay, I'll just tell you about the manner of utilization of input tax credit. See, input tax credit, how should I utilize input tax credit? I'll try to write it over here. I have IGST, CGST and SGST. I have IGST, CGST and SGST. Now assuming this is payable by me, this is the credit which I have. Now IGST credit should first be utilized for IGST. I should use IGST credit for first IGST, then I can use it for CGST or SGST. Please note, I can use it for CGST or SGST. It is CGST or SGST in any proportion. In any proportion I can use it for CGST and SGST. Then I should first completely utilize IGST, then only I can go to CGST or SGST. So number 3 is what? Number 3 I'll write as fully utilize IGST. Utilize fully IGST. Only when IGST is fully utilized I can go to CGST. Then CGST credit first I will utilize for CGST, then I will use it for IGST, but I cannot use CGST for SGST. Similarly, IGST I will use first for IGST, then I will use it for SGST first I will use it for SGST, then I will use it for IGST. I cannot use SGST credit for CGST. I cannot use SGST credit for CGST. One more important point, I can utilize SGST amount for payment of IGST. I can use the SGST amount for payment of IGST only if the CGST amount is not there. Only if I don't have CGST amount for making the payment of IGST. This is manner of utilization of credit. Now, sir, interest liability. If I don't file the return within the due date, if I don't file the return, or if I don't make the payment of tax within the due date, what is the liability, sir? If you are late filing your return, then you are not paying your output tax within time, then the interest liability is 18% per annum. 18% per annum. It is required to be computed on net liability. Then on number of days basis. Then what if I take excess input tax credit, sir? What if I take excess input tax credit, or what if I reduce my output tax liability? Then interest is at 24% per annum. Interest is at 24% per annum calculated on number of days basis. Sir, from which date should I pay the interest, sir? From the date following the date on due date of filing return. Say for example, due date for filing return, GSTR 3B is the return when you make the payment of taxes. So due date of GSTR 3B for the month of April is 20th of May. So 20th of May you were supposed to pay the taxes. I did not pay the taxes. So from 21st you start calculating return till the date you make the payment of taxes. Then e-way bill. Okay. E-way bill is a document which is required when you are causing movement of goods. Whenever there is a movement of goods for reasons of supply or reasons other than supply, then you will have to issue a document called as e-way bill. Sir, when should I issue an e-way bill? Sir, e-way bill is required to be issued when the consignment value, please note what am I talking about? I am talking about consignment value. If the consignment value exceeds 50,000 rupees, issue an e-way bill. You will have to issue an e-way bill along with the goods which are being moving. If the consignment value is exceeding what, sir? A consignment value is exceeding 50,000 rupees. Okay, consignment value. Sir, what is this consignment value? Consignment value is the value of supply or the transaction value as determined under section 15. Add to it, please note, add to it taxes under GST. Consignment value will include the taxes under GST, but it shall not include the exempt supply. Consignment value will not include the exempt supply. Then this e-way bill has two parts, part A and part B. Part A, I give invoice details or general details, and part B, I give the details with regard to the transporter. Sir, can e-way bill be cancelled? Yes, e-way bill can be cancelled within 24 hours of generation. Sir, can I edit or modify e-way bill? No, you cannot edit or modify e-way bill. Sir, what is the validity of e-way bill? Validity of e-way bill is for every 100 km. If it is other than over-dimensional vehicle, for every 100 km it is 1 day, and if it is over-dimensional vehicle, for every 20 km it is 1 day. Then Sir, is e-way bill required to be accepted or rejected? Can I accept or reject e-way bill? Yes, e-way bill can be accepted or rejected. This acceptance or rejection can happen within 72 hours. Within 72 hours, I can accept or reject. If I don't accept or reject within 72 hours, it is deemed accepted. Deemed acceptance. There is one more point about e-way bill. In case of bill to ship to, where I am billing to one person and shipping to another person, so how many e-way bills are required to be generated? Only one single e-way bill is required to be generated. Then returns under GST. There are different returns under GST. We'll just see to it and what are the due date. GSTR1 is with regard to details of your outward supply, whatever sales is made by you, that details you give in your GSTR1. This is required. Now GSTR1 can be filed monthly or quarterly. If you are filing monthly, then due date is 10th of next month. Say for the month of April it is 10th of May, and for quarterly period it is due date is 30th or 31st of the next month following the quarter. Last date of the next month following the quarter. Please note, in practice the due date is 11th. In practice the due date is 11th. For monthly it is 11th of next month. Then GSTR1, now it is not in practice anyways. GSTR1 and GSTR3 is not in practice. GSTR2 and GSTR3 are not in practice. GSTR2 talks about inward supply, return for inward supply, and GSTR3 is a return for taking the details of outward supply from one and inward supply from 2 and making the payment of taxes. Sir, what is the due date anyway, sir? For GSTR2 the due date is 15th of next month, and for GSTR3 the due date is 20th of next month. Now what is important is GSTR3B, because that is in practice. It is GSTR3B by which you make the payment of tax. GSTR3B is a simple return wherein you give the details of output tax, input tax, and you make net payment of taxes if it is payable. If it is not payable, then the amount of credit ITC will be available in your electronic credit ledger. Sir, what is the due date, sir? 20th of next month. For example, month of April it is 20th of May. Then section GSTR4. GSTR4 is a return which is required to be filed by a composition dealer or a person who is opting for notification number 2/2019. It is required to be filed annually by 30th of April of next month following by end of the year, meaning 30th of April of next financial year. Say for example, for financial year 1920, I should file my GSTR4 by 30th of April 2020. Then please note, this return is required to be filed by you annually. So you will have to make the payment of taxes in case of composition dealer or notification number 2/2019. You will have to make the payment of taxes quarterly. I will have to make the payment of taxes quarterly in a form called as GST-CMP 08. Very important, in a form called as GST-CMP 08, and it is required to be paid within 18th of next month following the quarter. Within 18th of next month following the quarter. Say for example, for quarter April to June, you should file the return by 18th of July. You should file the return by 18th of July. Then GSTR5 is required to be filed by non-resident taxable person. It is required to be filed monthly, and it is required to be filed by 20th of next month. The 20th of next month, or within 7 days from the expiry of your registration. Then GSTR6 is required to be filed by input service distributor for distribution of credit. It is required to be filed monthly and by 13th of next month. GSTR7 is by TDS person by 10th of next month. 8, e-commerce operator who is collecting taxes, again 10th of next month. GSTR9, very important. GSTR9, it is an annual return which is required to be filed by a registered person. It is required to be filed by every registered person except casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person, input service distributor, then TDS person and TCS person. They are, and oh my dear service provider, they are not required to file this GSTR9. Okay. And also for composition dealer there is a separate annual return GSTR9A. Okay, this is required to be filed. GSTR9 is required to be filed annually by 31st December of next financial year. For example, financial year 1920, the due date is 31st December 2020. Please note, if your aggregate turnover for the financial year exceeds 2 crore rupees, you should get your books of accounts audited by a chartered accountant or cost accountant. So in that cases, you will have to file your GSTR9, and along with this, you will also have to file a document called as GSTR9C. It is a reconciliation statement which reconciles the turnover of audited financial statement with your GST returns. It will reconcile, and it is required to be certified by a chartered accountant or a cost accountant. Then GSTR10 is a final return. If your registration is cancelled, then you will have to file this return. Sir, when should I file? Within 30 days of cancellation. GSTR11 it is written by UIN holders. UIN holders are required to file a return for taking the the refund of input tax credit. This is required to be filed monthly by 28th of next month or 28th of the month from which the statement is filed. Then, sir, is there any late fee for filing for delayed filing of returns? Yes, there is a late fee. The late fee is rupees 100 per day, rupees 100 per day, but subject to a maximum of rupees 5,000. So late fee will be 100 rupees per day, but however the maximum late fee which they can collect is 5,000. Please note, it is under CGST Act, under SGST Act also the same provisions are here. Now for GSTR 9, no, annual return there is a separate late fee. For annual return there is a separate late fee. It is rupees 100 per day or 0.25% of aggregate turnover, or I'll write as turnover of state or union territory, whichever is lower. Rupees 100 per day or 0.25% of turnover in a state, turnover in a state or union territory, whichever is lower, Okay friends, so this was all about the procedural aspects revision. I hope you are enjoying all my videos. Thanks a lot.